When my daughter hissed, "You'll either do what my fiancé says or find another place to live," I didn't snap back in anger. I just gave a small nod, grabbed my duffel bag, and walked out of the apartment I'd funded with my own money. Emma expected me to break, to plead as I always had when she pushed. But this time, things were different. By the end of the week, I had 19 missed calls, and that was just the start of my plan. They'd soon regret every word they'd spat at me. My boots echoed on the hardwood as I stepped through the apartment door, arms heavy with grocery bags. The late afternoon sun streamed through the blinds, casting golden streaks across the living room, a glow that usually felt like home. Not today. Derek was sprawled on my cream-colored sofa, a gift from my late sister Ellen, before her stroke took her. His boots were propped on the glass coffee table, a half-empty energy drink dangling in his hand. His phone blared a sports podcast like he owned the place, and I suppose he thought he did. He didn't even look up. "Hey, Linda. Grab me another Red Bull while you're up." I set the bags down, the weight of apples and canned soup biting into my palms, leaving red marks across my skin. "Excuse me, Derek?" "You heard me," he said, eyes still on his phone. "Red Bull in the fridge, none of that cheap stuff you buy." A cold knot twisted in my chest. I'd bought those energy drinks just for him, dipping into my grocery budget for his favorite brand. "I just got back from the store, Derek. I need to unpack these." He glanced up, his face curling into that familiar smirk, like I was being unreasonable. "What's the issue? You're standing." "I'm comfortable." "The issue is this is my apartment," I said, keeping my voice steady despite the heat rising in my throat. Derek's boots hit the floor with a thud. He stood, his 29-year-old frame towering over me, all muscle and attitude. I'd faced tougher people in my years as a school counselor, but his size was intimidating. "Your apartment? Funny because Emma and I live here." "We cover the rent with my money. Details?" He stepped closer, energy drink still in hand. "Look, Linda, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. You want to stay here drama-free? You play along." The kitchen door swung open. Emma stepped in, her dark hair tied in a messy bun, a phone charger dangling from her hand. She froze, taking in Derek looming over me, the air thick with tension. "What's going on?" Her voice carried that sharp edge I knew from her teenage years. "Your mom's making a fuss," Derek said, eyes still locked on me. "I asked for a drink, and she's turning it into a federal case." Emma sighed, looking at me like I was a disobedient child. "Mom, just get the drink. It's not worth a fight." Derek leaned closer, his breath sharp with artificial cherry. "Here's how it works, Linda. You live in our apartment, you contribute. When I say something, you do it. No backtalk." "Our apartment?" My heart pounded, but I kept my tone even. Emma stepped beside Derek, forming a united front. "Mom, decide right now. Either you help Derek and do what he asks, or you pack your things and leave." The words cut deeper than I'd expected, like a knife twisting in my chest. I searched Emma's face for the girl who used to draw me crayon hearts on rainy days, but all I saw was Derek's smug confidence mirrored in her eyes. "Okay," I said quietly. Derek grinned, thinking he'd won. "Good. Now that Red Bull. I'll pack." His grin vanished, and Emma's jaw dropped, like she'd expected me to fold, to apologize and scurry to the fridge. I turned toward the hallway, leaving the grocery bags where they sat, their contents spilling slightly onto the counter. Behind me, Derek muttered something sharp under his breath. Emma whispered, "Mom, hold on." But my steps were steady on the hardwood floor Ellen and I had chosen together 15 years ago, back when this apartment was a symbol of my fresh start after the lottery win. My duffel bag landed on the bed with a soft thud. I'd bought it for a road trip to the Oregon coast with Ellen, back when life felt full of possibility. Now it sat open, ready to swallow what was left of my life here. I packed deliberately. Underwear, sweaters, 2 pairs of jeans, just enough to get by. From the living room, I heard their hushed, urgent voices. Derek's rising in frustration, Emma's softer but edged with panic. They were scrambling to process my defiance, to figure out how to handle the mother who'd stopped bending. I folded clothes methodically, tucking in a photo of Ellen wrapped in tissue paper, my vitamins, my reading glasses, the small notebook where I tracked every expense. When I dragged the duffel down the hall, their voices stopped. Derek was back on the sofa, but his posture was tense, like a coiled spring. Emma stood by the kitchen, arms crossed, trying to look stern but betraying worry in her eyes. Neither said a word as I walked out. My old Honda started with its familiar hum, reliable as ever. I pulled out of the parking lot without glancing back at the apartment, without checking if they watched from the window. The 20-minute drive to Sunset Inn gave me time to think, memories flooding in as I passed downtown Willow Creek's familiar shops. Emma's art school tuition had cost me $35,000 a year for 3 years, funded by late-night tutoring sessions after I'd won $200,000 in the state lottery. Her engagement party was another $15,000, because Derek's family couldn't contribute a dime. I'd paid quietly, wanting her day to be perfect, not wanting to shame anyone. Then came the apartment, $60,000 from my lottery winnings for the lease deposit, because young couples needed a leg up. That's what mothers do, I told myself. That's what Ellen would have wanted. The monthly payments followed like clockwork, $1,100 for rent, $250 for utilities, $400 for groceries when their funds ran low. My lottery money vanished into their lives, piece by piece, and I'd convinced myself it was love. Sunset Inn sat on the edge of town, a low building with peeling blue paint and a neon sign that buzzed faintly. The room was basic but clean, a single bed, a desk, a chair by a window overlooking the parking lot. I set my duffel on the floor and sank onto the mattress, the springs creaking under my weight. The silence here wasn't the warm quiet of my apartment, but the hollow stillness of a temporary place. I pulled out my phone. Scrolling through contacts, bank numbers, insurance agents, the lawyer I'd consulted after Ellen's death. It was Saturday, but some steps could still be taken, some calls could be made. I opened my laptop on the desk, logging into my bank account. The screen glowed with numbers, savings, checking. The remains of my lottery windfall, carefully managed to support my family. The cursor blinked in the search bar, waiting for my next move. Sunday morning arrived gray and heavy, matching the weight in my chest. I spread papers across the desk like a general planning a campaign, bank statements, lease agreements, insurance policies, all neatly organized. The first call went to Willow Creek Credit Union, where I'd set up the rent payments. "Good morning, Miss Carter," the agent said after I navigated the automated system. "How can I assist you today?" "I need to cancel the automatic rent payment for 214 Maple Avenue. Account ending in 3814. A pause followed by the click of keys. "Miss Carter, that payment's been active for 4 years. Are you sure you want to stop it?" "Absolutely sure. May I ask why?" "The tenants no longer qualify for my support." More clicking. "The payment will be canceled effective immediately. You'll receive confirmation in 5 business days." The next call was simpler. State Farm insured Emma's sedan and Derek's motorcycle on my policy, costing me $220 a month for vehicles I never touched. "I need to remove 2 vehicles from my insurance," I told the agent. "My daughter and her fiancé will need their own coverage." "When should this take effect?" "Now." Credit cards were trickier. Emma was an authorized user on my Amex and Discover, racking up $400 a month on balances I didn't create. Designer clothes, gadgets, things I'd never buy. "Removing authorized users means they'll need their own credit," the Amex agent explained. "Outstanding balances remain your responsibility, but no new charges can be made. Remove her immediately." Each call felt like shedding a layer of chains. My years as a counselor had taught me the system's ins and outs, legal terms, proper procedures. Everything I was doing was within my rights. By noon, I made 7 calls, rent payments stopped, insurance canceled, credit cards blocked. The automatic transfers that had drained my lottery winnings for years were gone, severed with polite conversations and confirmation numbers. I leaned back in the creaky chair, staring at my notes, confirmation numbers, effective dates, a paper trail of freedom. My phone sat silent on the desk, no missed calls yet. They wouldn't notice until the first payment bounced, until bills landed in their names instead of mine. I walked to the window, watching a young couple load a stroller into their car across the lot. They moved with easy teamwork, the kind Ellen and I once had, planning our lottery windfall together. I envied their quiet bond. My phone buzzed with an unknown number, but I let it ring, my mind already on the next step. I settled into a routine at Sunset Inn, but for Emma and Derek, the week was anything but calm. Coffee from the lobby's chipped pot, breakfast at Maggie's diner, and long walks through Willow Creek's quiet streets kept me grounded. My phone began lighting up by Tuesday, 9 missed calls piling up like unwanted debts. By Thursday, the count hit 19, each voicemail a step from confusion to rage. I listened to them in order, Emma's voice starting light. "Mom, is there a glitch with the rent payment?" Derek's were clipped, annoyed. "Linda, the insurance on my bike's gone. Fix it now." By midweek, panic crept in, Emma's tone trembling. "The landlord called, Mom. They want $1,100 by tomorrow or we're out." I deleted each message, feeling only a flicker of curiosity about their unraveling lives. Thursday morning brought a knock at my motel door, sharp and insistent. Through the peephole, I saw Emma, her jacket wrinkled, eyes red-rimmed like she hadn't slept. Derek loomed behind her, fists clenched, his work boots scuffed and muddy. I opened the door but kept the chain on, my voice steady. "What do you want?" Emma's lips quivered. "Mom, we need to talk." Derek pushed forward, his face flushed. "About you trying to destroy us over a stupid drink," he growled, his breath sour with energy drink. "I'm not destroying anything," I said calmly. "I'm just not funding your lives anymore." Derek's voice rose, echoing in the motel hallway. "The rent, Linda. You can't just stop paying the rent. That's our home." "It's my apartment," I reminded him. "My name on the lease, my lottery money on the deposit." Emma grabbed his arm as he leaned closer, his shadow falling across the threshold. "Mom, please, Derek was out of line, we both were, but you can't just cut us off like this." "You gave me an ultimatum," I said, my eyes on Emma. "Do what Derek says or leave." I chose to leave. Derek's tone shifted, forced calm masking his anger. "Look, we said things we didn't mean, okay? But this is our home, our credit, you can't just pull the rug out." I stepped back, hand on the door. "I did. You wanted to handle your own lives. Now you can." Emma's voice broke. "Mom, wait, what about family? What about everything we've been through?" I paused, seeing the girl who used to braid my hair during summer picnics, her laughter bright as the sun. "Family works both ways, Emma," I said softly. "I gave you everything for years. When I needed respect, you chose him." Derek's jaw tightened, his voice low and menacing. "You bitter old hag, you can't just— I can call the police if you keep shouting." I cut in. "This is private property, and you're disturbing the peace." They stared, seeing me not as the pushover mom but as someone who'd drawn a line. Derek grabbed Emma's arm. "Come on, we'll figure this out ourselves." They stormed to their car, Emma glancing back with uncertainty, Derek's swagger replaced by a tense hunch. I closed the door and returned to my laptop, the screen still open to my bank account. There were more calls to make, more threads to cut. Maggie's Diner was my refuge, where Ellen and I used to share coffee and dreams after my lottery win. Friday morning found me walking the familiar 4 blocks, my breath visible in the crisp autumn air. The routine steadied me after yesterday's confrontation. I'd reorganized my papers that morning, bank statements, confirmation emails, lease documents like a chess player studying the board. The diner's bell jingled as I entered, the air thick with coffee steam and frying bacon, a comforting haze I craved. I'd barely settled into my corner booth when a voice called out, "Linda Carter, as I live and breathe." Sarah Thompson rose from a table by the window, her accounting ledger tucked under her arm. We'd worked together at Willow Creek High, me counseling students, her managing budgets, sharing enough lunch breaks to call her a friend. "Sarah, good to see you," I said, standing to hug her. "Mind if I join you?" she asked, sliding into the booth. "Heard you're at Sunset Inn. Everything okay?" The waitress brought coffee, giving me a moment to weigh how much to share. Family issues, I said finally. Needed some space to sort things out. Sarah nodded, her eyes sharp but kind. That fiancé of Emma's tried something shady at the credit union a while back. My coffee cup froze halfway to my lips. What kind of shady? Applied for a $45,000 business loan, claiming your apartment as collateral. She said, her voice low. Said it was his property, even brought paperwork. The diner's chatter faded as her words sank in. My apartment? He said he owned it? Exactly, Sarah replied, shaking her head. We ran a title check. Your name only. Clean lease. No co-signers. The documents were forged. The revelation hit like a punch. 4 months ago, Derek had tried to steal from me. Not out of desperation but calculated deceit. When was this? I asked, my voice tight. February, Sarah said. I reviewed it myself because of the amount. Linda, it wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate fraud. I set my cup down, hands trembling slightly. All those dinners where Derek complained about money, all while planning to use my home as his piggy bank? Did you report it? We rejected the loan and flagged his file, she said. No money changed hands, so it's a legal gray area, but I kept copies of everything. She studied me. You didn't know? I shook my head, thinking of the $1,100 rent payments, the $400 grocery runs, the sacrifices I'd made. What was the loan for? Sarah glanced around, lowering her voice. Supposedly a startup, some tech venture, but word is Derek's been sinking money into a failing side hustle. Online trading, risky stuff. How risky? Talk to Officer Daniels, she said. He mentioned Derek's been meeting shady investors at the Creekview Lounge. I knew Officer Greg Daniels from school safety drills. His son had been in Emma's class. If he had details, they'd be solid. Sarah, thank you, I said, pulling out cash for the coffee I'd barely touched. Be careful, Linda, she warned. A man who'd forged documents to steal from family might do worse when cornered. I walked back to Sunset Inn, my mind racing. Derek's Red Bull demand wasn't about control. It was about keeping me docile, a cash cow for his schemes. Back in my room, I opened my laptop and created a file. Derek Larson evidence. Sarah's revelation was just the start. What else was he hiding? The county clerk's office closed at 4 p.m., leaving me an hour to file papers that would shift everything. I drove straight from the diner to the Willow County Courthouse, a squat brick building that once felt imposing but now felt like an ally. The clerk's office was on the first floor, staffed by a young man who processed my eviction notice with quiet efficiency. Ms. Carter, this is your daughter's residence, he asked, reviewing the lease I provided. It's my property, I said. The tenants breached our verbal agreement for mutual respect and shared expenses. He stamped the papers with a crisp thud. 30-day notice starts today. If they contest, we'll schedule a hearing. Otherwise, the sheriff serves final papers after the deadline. How soon will they get this? Within 48 hours, he said. I thanked him, clutching my copies, feeling the weight of legal power in my hands. My next stop was the police station. Officer Greg Daniels' desk was cluttered with files and coffee mugs, his face lined from years of night shifts. Linda, what brings you here? He asked, his handshake firm. I need information on Derek Larson's activities, I said. Sarah Thompson mentioned he's been meeting investors at Creekview Lounge. Greg's eyes narrowed. Your daughter as fiancé? What's the context? I explained briefly. The ultimatum, my move, the forged loan documents. He took notes, his pen scratching steadily. Derek's a regular at Creekview, he said. Meets with guys tied to sketchy trading schemes, high-risk crypto stuff. He's in deep, maybe $22,000 in debt. The number stunned me. Derek had been living in my apartment, drinking my groceries, demanding my compliance while burning through cash I'd never see. Who's he owe? Mix of online brokers and local loan sharks, Greg said. The brokers are pressing him. The sharks don't mess around. How long has he got? About a month before they escalate, he said. He's been dodging them for weeks. I left the station with a clearer picture of Derek's mess. His aggression wasn't just entitlement, it was desperation to keep me funding his failing hustle. Back at Sunset Inn, I reviewed the day's progress, eviction filed, Derek's debts confirmed, allies like Sarah and Greg in my corner. I updated my evidence file, adding Greg's intel to Sarah's. My counseling training taught me to spot patterns, and Derek's were glaring, deceitful, reckless, dangerous. I had to be ready for his next move. Tomorrow I'd call his creditors, not to pay his debts, but to clarify he had no claim to my apartment. The truth was my weapon. By Saturday, I knew I had to shape the narrative before Derek could. At the post office, Mrs. Larson, the church choir director, cornered me by the mailboxes. "Linda, I'm hearing troubling things about family drama," she said, her eyes wide with concern. "Is everything okay?" I chose my words carefully, knowing she'd spread them by Sunday. "Emma and Derek asked me to leave, so I did," I said. "Sometimes kids need to handle their own responsibilities." Her brows shot up. "They asked you to leave your apartment? Didn't you pay for Emma's art school and their engagement party?" "I did," I said, nodding. "I always wondered how they afforded that place on Derek's salary," she whispered. I didn't elaborate. The truth would spread on its own. At Willow Creek Bakery, where I'd volunteered after retiring, owner Jane Miller looked up from her order book. "Linda, heard you're at Sunset Inn. What's going on?" I explained briefly, and her staff gathered, shocked at Derek's disrespect. Angry I'd funded them for years without thanks. "You paid $105,000 for her tuition?" Baker Tom said, incredulous. "Derek told everyone his family was loaded, said they covered your rent." "Derek said a lot that wasn't true," I replied calmly. Jane's face hardened. "That explains why he never took extra shifts here. Always had meetings. Probably at Creekview Lounge," muttered cashier Lisa. By the time I left, I knew the story would ripple through town. Willow Creek's gossip network faster than any social media. At St. Paul's Church, Pastor Evans was setting up for Sunday service. He offered tea in his cozy office, his voice gentle. "Linda, people are worried about you. What's happening?" I appreciated his directness. He wasn't after gossip. "I've been supporting Emma and Derek for years," I said. "Last week, they demanded I follow Derek's orders or leave my own home. I left." He nodded, thoughtful. "That's painful, but it's also clarifying. You've been shielding them from consequences too long." "Too long," I agreed. On my walk back, I stopped at Creekview Coffee, the usual Saturday crowd buzzing, retirees, shop workers, parents with kids. I overheard whispers. "Derek owes money everywhere. Linda's been paying their way. How'd they live so well on his income?" The town was piecing it together just as I'd hoped. My phone rang, Mrs. Conway, my neighbor for a decade. "Linda, there's been yelling at your apartment," she said. "Derek mostly, but Emma too. Cops drove by yesterday." "Thank you, Mrs. Conway," I said. "I'm safe. Just taking it day by day." That evening, my phone buzzed again, an unknown number, likely a creditor chasing Derek's lies. I let it go to voicemail, ready to add more to my evidence file. I knew Derek wouldn't go quietly. He never did. Saturday morning started calm, my coffee cooling on the motel desk as I reviewed bank statements. The numbers a stark reminder of years spent funding Emma and Derek's life. My phone buzzed relentlessly. First Jane from the bakery, then Mrs. Conway, then Pastor Evans, each call carrying the same alarming news. Derek was storming through Willow Creek, spinning a twisted version of events. "Linda, you need to hear this," Jane said, her voice tight with anger. "Derek came in here, loud as anything, saying you abandoned them out of spite." "What exactly did he say?" I asked, my pen poised over my notebook. "That you promised to always support them, then flipped out over a petty argument, leaving them broke," she said, adding, "He's claiming Emma's sick, some medical emergency, and you're refusing to help." I thanked Jane and hung up, my mind already dissecting Derek's lies. He was desperate, launching a public smear campaign to deflect his creditors' pressure. Mrs. Conway's call confirmed it. He was at the community center, Telling everyone you're losing it, Linda, she said. Said you kicked them out because Emma wouldn't let you control her life. Pastor Evans was gentler but blunt. Derek spreading stories about a family crisis. People are confused, but they know your character. My phone buzzed again, Emma's number. Mom, please pick up, her voicemail pleaded, voice thick with tears. I know you're mad, but I'm scared. I'm pregnant, and this stress could hurt the baby. My stomach twisted, that old maternal instinct flaring, but her tone felt rehearsed, too perfectly desperate. Congratulations, Emma, I said when I called back, keeping my voice even. When did you find out? Last week, she said, her voice cracking. Right before everything went wrong. Mom, I can't lose this baby over money issues. You always said family first. Family is first, I replied. That's why I paid $105,000 for your art school and $15,000 for your engagement party. But what about now? What about your grandchild? The question hung heavy, but the timing was too convenient. Her emotion too calculated. Have you seen a doctor about these complications? I asked. A pause. I've got an appointment next week, she said. With who? Dr. Patel at Willow Women's Clinic, she answered. I knew Dr. Patel from Ellen's appointments years ago. I'll call her office to help with medical costs, I said. Mom, you don't need to call. It's private, Emma snapped, her voice sharpening. If there's a real emergency with my grandchild, I want to help, I said. Have Dr. Patel call me to discuss payments? The line went dead, her abrupt hang-up confirming my suspicions. An hour later, I was walking downtown when I spotted Derek outside Willow Creek Credit Union, his voice booming to a small crowd. She's lost her mind, he said, gesturing wildly. Thinks everyone's out to rob her, kicked her own pregnant daughter out over nothing. The crowd noticed me before he did, faces turning, whispers starting. Derek spun around, his face reddening. There she is, the woman who abandoned her family. Hello, Derek, I said calmly. How's that $22,000 trading debt going? The accusation landed like a stone, the crowd murmuring as pieces clicked into place. You're full of it, he sputtered. I don't know what you're talking about. $22,000, according to Officer Daniels, I said, facing the crowd. Creekview Lounge, shady crypto deals, amazing how much you can lose when someone else pays your rent. Derek's face turned purple, his fists clenching as he stepped closer. You crazy old hag, you can't. I can document every dollar I've spent on you for 4 years, I cut in. Can you account for your paychecks? The crowd leaned in, phones slipping out, the real story spreading fast. Derek realized he'd lost control, shoving through the onlookers. This isn't over, Linda, he growled, storming off. I walked back to Sunset Inn, my pulse steady despite his threats. His lies couldn't hold up. Willow Creek knew me too well to buy his tale of abandonment or mental breakdown. But the pregnancy claim nagged at me. If Emma was truly pregnant, my actions could ripple to an innocent life. I called Dr. Patel's office to verify, leaving a message about potential medical expenses. If there was a real crisis, I'd help, but I wouldn't fall for manipulation. Derek's public outburst had crossed a line. Back in my room, I called Officer Daniels. Greg, Derek's escalating, I said. He confronted me downtown, made threats in front of witnesses. How bad? Greg asked. Aggressive gestures, calling me names, losing control, I said, glancing out the motel window at the darkening parking lot. I want to file a complaint and explore protection options. Come in tomorrow with any evidence, he said. We'll take it seriously. I didn't need to wait. That evening, Maria, Sunset Inn's night manager, knocked on my door. Miss Carter, that guy was back, yelling in the lot, she said, her ex-cop instincts sharp. Stood outside your room for 10 minutes, muttering about teaching you a lesson. Spooked some guests. Did you get it on camera? I asked. Got it on security footage, she said. Happy to give it to the police. I thanked her, the video another piece of evidence. The next morning, I walked into the police station with Maria's USB drive and a timeline of Derek's behavior. His threats, his forged loan attempt, his debts. Officer Daniels reviewed it all, his face grim. "This shows a clear pattern of intimidation, Linda," he said. "With the downtown incident and this footage, we can get a restraining order." "What does that mean?" "He can't come within 500 feet of you or your property," he said. "Violation means arrest." He leaned back, adding, "There's more. Derek met with a lawyer yesterday about tenancy laws, trying to claim your apartment as his after living there." My breath caught. "Like squatters' rights?" "Exactly," Greg said. "Montana requires 5 years of hostile occupation. They've been there 4. He was planning to wait it out and file." The betrayal stung deeper. Derek hadn't just been freeloading. He'd been scheming to steal my home legally. "Does he have a claim?" I asked. "None," Greg said. "You gave them permission to live there, and they never paid rent or taxes. But it shows he's been planning this for years." "Can you fast-track the restraining order?" I asked. "With this evidence, it'll be signed by noon," he said. I left the station, my mind reeling. Derek's Red Bull demand wasn't about dominance. It was about keeping me compliant while he plotted. By noon, Judge Larson signed the restraining order, barring Derek from coming near me or my apartment. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "You'll pay for this, Linda." I forwarded it to Greg and blocked the number. Evidence collection now second nature. Monday morning, I watched Derek's world crumble from multiple angles. The courthouse clerk handed me the restraining order's final copy. "Miss Carter, this is effective immediately," she said. "Any contact within 500 feet is a violation." I nodded, knowing the sheriff would serve Derek by afternoon. My phone rang. Tom Reynolds, Derek's boss at Creekview Auto Repair. "Linda, I need to ask straight up," he said, his voice heavy. "Is what Derek's saying true? That you had a breakdown, threw them out over nothing? What else did he say?" "That Emma's pregnant, needs medical help, and you're refusing," he said, skeptical. "Doesn't sound like the woman who mentored my kid at school." "Tom, Derek gave me an ultimatum, obey him or leave," I said. I left. "There's no pregnancy I can confirm, and my mind's as sharp as ever. Ask my lawyer or Officer Daniels." A long pause. "I figured," Tom said. 3 customers today mentioned Derek owing money. One saw him at Creekview Lounge with shady types. "It's hurting my business." "I'm sorry it's come to this," I said. "I'm letting him go," Tom said. "Can't have this drama around my shop." An hour later, at Maggie's Diner, I saw a creditor's van pull up to my apartment, its logo reading Pacific Debt Solutions. I'd spoken to them Friday about Derek's false address claims. My phone rang. "Emma." "Mom, there are people at the apartment asking about Derek's debts," she said, voice shaking. "They're talking about seizing assets, garnishing wages. What's happening?" I told them the truth, I said. "Derek doesn't own my apartment and doesn't live there anymore." "He owes $22,000, she whispered. "How? He said he was working late." "Crypto trading, according to Officer Daniels," I said. "Creekview Lounge, not overtime." Silence, then a quiet sob. "He lied to me." "I'm sorry you're finding out this way," I said. "The sheriff served Derek papers today too. He's been ranting, breaking things." The restraining order had landed, and Derek's options were vanishing. "He's talking about skipping town," Emma said. "Says there's nothing left here. Make your choices based on who he really is, not who you wanted him to be," I said. That evening, I parked across from the apartment, watching the chaos unfold. 2 more creditor vans had visited, and Mrs. Conway waved sadly from her balcony. Through the window, I saw Emma and Derek arguing, his gestures wild, hers defensive. Their perfect life, built on my lottery money, was collapsing. My phone buzzed. A text from Maria at Sunset Inn. "That guy tried sneaking into the motel again." Told him about the restraining order. He left furious. I forwarded it to Greg, another violation logged. Derek's desperation was making him reckless, but predictable. A man with $22,000 in debts, no job, and a restraining order had few moves left, faces mess or run. Given his character, running seemed likely. I drove back to Sunset Inn, considering Emma's fate. Would she follow him, clinging to a liar, or finally see him clearly? My protection had ended when they chose demands over my dignity. Tuesday morning, I called Emma. "Meet me at Maggie's Diner, 1 o'clock, back booth," I said. "Just you." "I can't leave Derek alone," she said, voice strained. "He's falling apart." "Then we're done talking," I said. "The restraining order means I can't be near him." A long pause. "I'll be there," she said. I arrived early, choosing the booth facing the wall for privacy. Emma walked in, looking older than her 27 years, her eyes shadowed, fingers twisting her purse strap. "Mom, I know you're angry," she said, sliding into the seat. "Derek's jobless, creditors won't stop, the phone's ringing nonstop." I waited until she finished, then spoke calmly. "I'm offering you one chance to end this with dignity, Emma." "What do you mean?" "Public honesty," I said. "Admit how much I've supported you and why I left." Her face flushed. "You want me to humiliate myself in front of everyone?" "I want the truth," I said. Church announcement Sunday, a letter to the Willow Creek Gazette, a public Facebook post, full details of the tuition, the party, the rent, and your ultimatum. "People will think that you had a mother who loved you enough to spend her lottery winnings on your dreams, and you took it for granted," I said. Emma stared at her untouched coffee. "What about Derek?" "Derek's out of my equation," I said. "The restraining order's permanent. Staying with him means choosing him over me." "You're making me pick between my fiancé and my mom," she whispered. "I'm asking you to choose between a man who threatened me and the woman who raised you," I said. "That you see them as equal shows how far we've drifted." "What about the apartment?" she asked, voice small. "It's been our home." "It's going to the Willow Creek homeless shelter," I said. 3 families will live there. People who value sacrifice." Her eyes widened, stunned. "The lease transfer's already filed with my lawyer," I added. "Even if you do everything I ask, it's not coming back." "Why?" "Because any reconciliation between us must be about love, not money," I said. "For 4 years you treated me like a bank. I need to know if there's anything real left." Tears welled in her eyes, genuine this time, not the practiced sobs I'd grown wary of. "I'm sorry, Mom," she said. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." "Sorry's not enough," I said gently. "The town saw you and Derek treat me like a servant in my own home. I need actions, not words." "What if I can't do it?" she asked. "What if I can't face everyone?" "Then you live with that choice," I said. "Derek will likely run from his creditors. Men like him always do. You can follow him or stay and rebuild with honesty. And if I do it, then maybe we can rebuild, based on respect, not obligation," I said. "You have until Sunday, 10 a.m. at church." She stood, fragile under the weight of her choice, and left without another word. Sunday morning dawned cold and clear. I walked into St. Paul's, wondering if Emma would find the courage to face the truth. The sanctuary was packed, whispers buzzing about a family announcement. I took my usual pew, 4 rows back, and waited. Pastor Evans led the hymns, but the air crackled with anticipation. When testimony time came, Emma rose from the back, her steps slow but steady. At the podium, she gripped the edges, facing faces she'd known her whole life. "I need to tell you about my mother," she said, her voice clear. "For 4 years, Linda Carter supported me and Derek with her lottery winnings. $105,000 for my art school, $15,000 for our engagement party." Murmurs rippled through the congregation, numbers painting a vivid picture. "She leased our apartment, paid $1,100 a month in rent, covered utilities, groceries, insurance, all on her own," Emma continued. "2 weeks ago, when she wouldn't obey Derek's demands, we told her to follow his orders or leave her own home. She chose to leave." The sanctuary fell silent, even the kids still. "I stood by as Derek disrespected the woman who gave up everything for us," she said, tears streaming. I chose him over the mother who raised me with love. She looked at me. Mom, I'm sorry isn't enough, but it's where I start. The congregation murmured support as she sat, Pastor Evans praising her courage. After the service, people approached with hugs and words of support. Mrs. Conway squeezed my hand. We knew you were helping them, Linda, but not how they repaid you. Jane clapped my shoulder. That took guts, setting boundaries with family. Emma approached outside, her eyes red. The Gazette letter runs Tuesday. The Facebook post goes up tonight. She said. 3 months later, I stood outside my former apartment, watching 3 homeless families move into the shelter units Willow Creek Homeless Shelter had created. The apartment was now split into private rooms with shared spaces, a new start for those who'd earned it. Maria Lopez, a single mother, guided her kids to a donated swing set. Miss Carter, this means everything, she said. This home is for people who understand struggle, I replied. My life had settled into quiet rhythms at a small cottage I'd bought by Willow Creek, my lottery savings finally mine. Morning tea on the porch, evening walks by the water, simple joys after years of stress. My phone buzzed, Emma. Mom, I'm in therapy, learning about boundaries. Can we try coffee soon? I smiled, typing, Saturday at Maggie's. She'd kept her promises, her actions slowly rebuilding trust. If you love this story, please like, subscribe to Total Revenge, and share your thoughts below. Click the box on the left for more. Thank you for watching.